Hi everyone, welcome back to Paul's Stuff, the place where I talk about all the stuff that I love. Been talking a lot lately about lightsabers, and so today I thought I'd talk a little bit more about some of the technical aspects of lightsabers, in particular the different blade types and electronic package types that you can get. Blade types, not going to talk about every type of blade, but going to talk about the two major types. That's Baselit Blades and Neopixel Blades, and we'll also talk about Baselit hilts and Neopixel hilts and some of the differences. So without further ado, let's take a look at a Baselit blade. So this saber has a Baselit blade. What do we mean by baselit? So it basically refers to where the light source is for this blade. So the blade itself is a hollow tube, nothing in there apart from some rolled up cellophane which acts as a diffuser. So it's just a hollow tube, has a tip, and the tip generally in Baselit blades will have a little mirror inside that shines light back down. It's called baselit because all of the light comes from the base of the blade inside the hilt. So if you have a look inside this hilt, you should be able to see there's an LED in there. It's a really bright LED. I'll turn it on briefly, give you some idea of the brightness of it. And that provides all of the light for the lightsaber. So any effects have to be done at that point and travel the entire length of the blade. So this system has the advantage of it being reasonably cheap. The blades themselves are cheaper and the hilts tend to be cheaper. You'll see hilts described as baselit, or sometimes they're described as RGB hilts. RGB refers to red, green, blue technology in LEDs. If you have red, green and blue, you can produce from that pretty much any colour of light. And so they're sometimes called RGB hilts. They can be reasonably bright. They're not a bad hilt. You can get blade effects in them. But if you notice with those blade effects, all of the blade effects are happening along the whole length of the blade. You can't get blade effects that are going to happen in specific places along the blade. Any blade effect happens along the whole length. You can change the colour. Sorry. You can change the colour of the blade. I should have turned it on first. So this will now cycle through the colours for the blade, as you can see. Nice greens, reds, oranges, yellows, and we're back to blue. So not a fantastic range of colours, but you can get pretty much any colour you want from them, and the colours are good. They're not bad at all. Disadvantages: the boards that are running Baselit technology tend to be simpler boards, so They don't have things like programmable sound fonts. What you get on the board when you get it tends to be what you get on that board. They don't tend to have updates. They can do, but they don't tend to. They're generally pretty basic package. You're going to get what you buy and nothing more. So that's Baselit technology. Now, moving on, I want to have a look at daylight blades. Now, daylight blades are really to overcome a problem that all lightsaber blades have, which is if you have them in strong lighting, they don't show up very well. So the lighting in here isn't too bad, so these blades are going to show up really well. But if it was really strong daylight or very strong internal lighting, you'll find that the blades struggle to show any colour. And in some instances, in really bright sunlight, I've had Baselit blades and Neopixel blades that have just looked white. And these are an attempt to get around that. So these generally are for use with Baselit blades, and they're basically a coloured version of a Baselit blade. Now, because you've got the colour in the tube itself, your colour changing is going to be different, because everything is going to be seen through, in this instance, a blue filter, but it's all going to be filtered by whatever colour blade you've got in there. But I think you can see with that, even without turning the saber on, we've got a nice blue blade. When we turn it on, still lights up, still has everything that a normal Baselit blade has, but it also has a colouring that you can see in strong light as well. The one thing you'll notice with Baselit blades, they are brighter at the hilt and they tend to fade out in the middle, and they get a little bit brighter at the tip. That's because all the light is coming from inside the hilt and it has to travel up the blade, and as it goes up the blade it gets weaker. When it hits the mirror at the top and bounces back, you get a little bit brighter patch at the top, at the tip. But that's daylight blades, and they come in different colours. So this is a blue one. Also have a green one. They come in other colours as well, red, and I think I've seen purple ones. So that's Baselit blades and technology. Let's move on and have a look at something completely different from that. This is Neopixel technology. So what do we mean by Neopixel? Tends to describe the blade the blades are heavier because they contain 2 or more strips of LEDs. They aren't open like at the end like the Baselit blades. They have one of these little target shaped connectors. Ignore the writing on there, that's just me being able to identify which blade I've picked up. The connector here connects with a series of pins which are in the hilt. Now, increasingly the connector boards in the hilts for these Neopixel Sabers have LEDs in them as well, but they're nowhere near as bright as the LEDs for the Baselit blades. Now you can use a daylight blade in one of these. It gives you a great blade in bright sunlight, just like it would in a baselit. But if you turn it on, as you can see, the LEDs in here really aren't strong enough to light it up. They just light up the end. So really for those really strong sunlight days more than anything. But with a Neopixel blade, we get all sorts of lovely effects going on. So the first thing we'll notice is when we turn this blade on, you see the blade progresses along its length. The light progresses along the length of the blade, and when we turn it off, it comes back the other way. You can't do that with a baselit blade because all the light is coming out of the hilt itself. With a Neopixel, the light is actually in the light. The lamps, the LEDs, are actually in the blade. They're strips of LEDs. They're RGB, so they're capable of doing lots of different colours, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. They're also addressable, so in theory, with the right controller, you can turn on individual LEDs on the blade because they're all addressable. They're all the control board can know where they are, and that's how we get all these wonderful effects with Neopixel blades. So this is just a straight blade. Very bright, as you can see, because the blade itself is lit and it's not got that dull spot in the middle. It's an even light all the way through the blade, unlike the baselit. So let's have a look at some of the things that this sort of blade can do. So I've got this set up. This blade has now got a broken ignition, so instead of going straight up the blade, this time the blade will crackle and sparkle at this end and then burst into life. And I've also got this set up as a rainbow blade, which will show you the different colours. With this baselit technology, you can have a single colour on the blade at a time. With this, you can have multiple colours at the same time. So let's have a look at that. So this is broken ignition and a rainbow blade. So we saw the ignition was a little bit more interactive, shall we say. It doesn't go straight up and straight down. It flashes into life. And then the rainbow blade, you can see from this, we can get all sorts of different colours, and the colours can be moved along the blade. If we go back to the blue blade for a moment,
I am ready to face the trials.
You can also see with the blade effects, because the LEDs are addressable within the blade effects can happen anywhere along the blade. They're not like the baselit where it was having to flash the entire blade, and we can even do things like light the tip of the blade up. Don't know if you can see that. The blade effects, the blade may be too bright to show you all of the blade effects. But that's a Neopixel blade. So you'll find systems that can control Neopixel blades named in different ways. Probably the most common one that you'll hear about at the moment is Proffie. Proffie is an Arduino based programmable board. It basically can do anything that you want it to do as long as you know how to program it. There is a steep learning curve on learning all of that though. Because of the technology in them, these boards tend to be more expensive. The one in here is a Xenopixel, which is LGT's Neopixel system. I really like the Xenopixel system. It's not as competent as a Proffie board or a CFX or a Golden Harvest board. There are other boards similar to Proffie. I don't think they're quite as capable as Proffie, but they're up there. You can get all these different effects and things on them. The Xenopixel isn't as competent as those boards, but that doesn't mean it's not a good board. You can still do loads with it. It has most of the effects that the others do. I find it's much easier to program and work with. All of these Neopixel boards will have the ability to add sound fonts to them, so you can have different sounding sabers fonts on your saber. It's a great system. Much more capable than the Baselit. That's not to say that Baselit doesn't have its place. If you're going to do a lot of dueling, then you need to be aware that you are dueling with something that has multiple LEDs in its blade, and that doesn't mean it's really fragile, but it does mean it's probably more fragile than a Baselit blade. And if you're going to do a lot of heavy dueling, then you're probably better off with a Baselit blade. But if you want the effects and things, then there's no other way to go but to get a Neopixel saber. So those are the different types of blade. What I'm going to do now is turn out the lights here and show you these in a darker environment. So my lights should turn off in a moment, and we'll have a look at these blades in a darker environment. Hey Siri, turn off all the lights. Okay, so obviously the app on my watch doesn't work. Best laid plans and all that, but we'll carry on. So here's the Neopixel. They're just a standard blue blade. With the Neopixel blades you can get all those lovely blade effects like fire blades, and as we saw on this one I've got a font set up for it to have rainbow blade. There we go. So that's Neopixel, nice and bright, really good bright blade. Then we have the standard Baselit blade. Really not bad. It's got a good glow to it. I'm sure it's showing up better on camera than it actually looks in real life, but these aren't really bad. They're a good lightsaber and very sturdy. You can change the colours on it, as you saw before. There we go, cycling through the colours. So the disadvantage is you can only have one colour in the blade at a time. So yeah, it's it is what it is with these, but they're a good saber. And then we have the daylight blade. So this is the blue daylight blade. So maybe not quite so bright as the white Baselit Blades, but nonetheless it's got that colour with it all of the time, regardless of the lighting conditions around the blade. So you've always got a coloured blade, which is nice. Hey Siri, turn on the lounge lights. So there we go, folks. There's my quick rundown of lightsaber blades and the technologies that drive them. Baselit and Neopixel. Advantages and disadvantages to both. I'm really sold on Neopixels these days. They do a fantastic job of replicating what a lightsaber would look like. I love the effects on them. I love tinkering with the sound fonts and things on them. So I hope you found that helpful. Really, that's what I want this channel to be all about. I want it to be a way of sharing information, getting my knowledge out there to other people. So if you've got questions, please do leave them in the comments section below. I'll always try and give you an answer. Those of you that have left questions on my videos in the past will know that I always try and answer. If I can't find the answer myself, I will try and find someone who can give me the answer, so that I can pass that on to you. If you like the channel, please consider subscribing. If you click the notification bell, you'll get a notification every time a video goes up. And yeah, if you've liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up, give it a good old like. You'll also find in the description, I leave in the description all the places that I buy things from, and also some links to some Facebook pages and things, Facebook groups that I belong to. So yeah, if you want to have a look at those, they're all in the description as well. Hope you found the video interesting and helpful, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye bye.